fathers and sons spend their time together playing ball or going fishing. But for Mark Martone, Dad was the man who cruelly beat him with billy clubs, boards, and even a hammer. When Mark was 16, he struck back, shooting and killing his father. According to attorney Paul Mones, Mark is only one of the over 300 cases each year where a child kills a parent. Paul has spent most of his career helping defend these teens, and we welcome both of you to help us understand just how desperate the situation can get. Mark, when did your dad start to abuse you?
When I was about 6 years old.
And what form did it take? What did he do?
Just verbal.
What would he say? Things like?
I don't think I could say it over the air.
Oh, because dirty language,
yes,
in other words. Okay.
Extreme.
But were they things like basically the message was you're stupid or
oh, yes.
incompetent?
He always degraded the whole family.
Did he? So you were one of how many children being abused?
5.
On a daily basis?
Yes.
Did you get it every day?
Yes.
For what kinds of things would trigger?
Just anything, really. If his food wasn't right, if he just woke up in a bad mood, it really didn't, nothing really mattered to him.
Did your mother get beaten as well?
Yes.
She was beaten in front of you?
Yes.
When I said he hit you with a billy club and a hammer, I mean, did he always have something in his hand?
No, not all the time. It's just if it was around, he'd pick it up and hit you with it.
One time he hit you, or did he spend...
No, he'd repeatedly hit you.
Did you go to school with bruises?
Yes.
Why didn't someone help you?
No, I said I'd got into fights with my brother.
So you were the one making the excuses?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what was going on in your mind as a real youngster?
I really didn't know what was going on. You know, I just thought that's the way life was.
So, in other words, for you, this was normal, huh?
Yes.
Did anyone ever say, gee, Mark, I have a feeling something bad is going on inside your home?
No.
Nobody said a word?
No.
What about your mother?
Well, my mother wanted to get away from him, but my father threatened to kill her mother if she tried.
And so she was trapped, I suppose, huh?
Yes.
Felt trapped. Did she protect you or try to intercede and stop?
She tried, but there was nothing she could do. My father was a big man.
What was the perception of your dad out in the community?
I don't know, a lot of people liked him and a lot of people didn't like him.
The people that didn't like him, why wouldn't they like him?
He was, I don't know, to put it bluntly, he was...
And then the people that did like him, why did he gain their respect?
He always did somebody a favor or something.
So he was the Mr. Nice Guy outside the home and a terror inside the home.
Oh, very nice.
Is all of this stuff documented, all of the abuse that happened? I mean, your family, they all have come forward and talked?
Oh, yes.
Tell us what happened the night that you killed your dad.
I had skipped school and I'd come home and my father asked me if I had stayed out of school and I said yes. And so he started to hit me. And he told me that the school called a couple times and said that I wasn't there, and he insisted that I was there because I got on the bus in front of the house, but I got off the bus at another stop. And he just kept beating me. And he was yelling and screaming at my mother, telling her that my sister Lisa couldn't come home, couldn't come to the house anymore. He didn't want her around for Christmas, and he told my mother to take down the Christmas tree. And he kept calling me a liar. He told me he was going to kill me, my mother, my whole family.
What was he beating you with?
At first, just his hands.
And then?
And I had walked in the house with a machine shop hammer from school that I got from one of my neighbors. And I left it on the counter, and he picked it up, and he hit me in the head with it. He hit me on the back and on the side of the face.
And you didn't strike back. Did you try to...
Oh, there was no way of defending myself.
Because your dad was a very big man.
He was a very big man.
Okay, so how long did the beating go on?
I'd say about a half hour, 45 minutes. But he stopped and he'd get something to drink and he'd just yell and scream. So he wasn't beating me for a full 45 minutes.
But he would stop and start and stop and start. So when it was over, what kind of shape were you in?
I was dazed. I really was. I was hurt. You know, I was confused. I didn't know what to do, really. But he was just screaming and yelling, telling us he was going to kill us, so.
So what did you do?
I went upstairs and I grabbed the shotgun and I walked down. I walked down the steps and I walked by my mother and my sister and I said, I'm going to end this. And I just asked God for the strength to help me do the right thing, and I shot him.
He was lying in his bed?
Yeah, bitching.
Did he say anything to you when he saw you with the shotgun?
No, but I think he knows I did it because he was about to look over. But he had loaded guns all around him. He had guns on the side of him. He had guns on both sides of him.
So he could have actually killed you if he picked up a gun and you'd been slower than he was.
Very easily. There was guns all over the house.
You have said you're sorry for doing this.
Yes, I am.
Why?
Well, I have nightmares all the time now. I'm not sorry that, you know, that I did kill him, but I'm sorry that I have to go through what I'm going through now.
What kind of nightmares, Mark?
Well, he's in my nightmares, he's alive, and he still beats me, and he's always chasing me. It's really weird.
Are you getting help?
No.
Do you think you should?
I had saw some people for a while, and it really didn't help me.
Where's the rest of your family in this equation now? Are they all pulled together, or some of
pretty
them?
much.
Do they all express that they... what do they say to you about the incident?
Well, they're all sorry that I had to do it, you know.
Are they glad you did it?
Yes.
They are.
Yeah. My father controlled all our lives.
It is so amazing, and I'd love you to jump in here, Paul, that other people don't get involved when a child's being abused.
Well, I think one of the problems is by focusing on the worst cases of abuse, in looking at with the worst outcomes, you really understand the plight of abused children. The fact is that there are hundreds of thousands of kids beaten every year, and you know, abuse is a very nice word that we've used in the last 5 minutes or so. I really think it's torture, really, what was done to somebody like Mark and the rest of his family. And that you see when a child kills, the numbers of kids that I represent throughout the country, that in almost all the circumstances somebody knows something. There's another boy named Byron, who I write about in When a Child Kills, that was beaten with a 2x4 that was shaped into a paddle, or shaped into a 2x4 that his father called the Persuader. And he would be beaten if the garbage can cover wasn't fit exactly on top of the garbage can. When he mowed the lawn, if he got grass on the sidewalk, then his father would beat him. And he goes to his, and not only is he being beaten, but even more tragically than Mark's situation, he was also being sexually abused by his mother.
You're saying 300 cases a year happen here?
There are 300 cases a year. However, some of those, I have to say, are also adults who kill their parents, and those tend to be cases where the parents, they're killed for money purposes, or they're psychotic in some sense.
But when you take out the kids out of that number,
that's the majority of the cases.
Yeah, and what are these the kids that fall through the cracks in terms of the system that is supposed to protect them?
Sometimes they fall through the cracks. Sometimes they're just right on the surface there, and you get cases where, such as I say, this kid Byron, who went to his guidance counselor and said, my dad is beating me up, my mom is molesting me, and the teacher said, your father sounds too dangerous. I'm not going to file this report.
And
I don't
Mark,
know we can protect you with this.
You would have gone to the police except for...
I had gone to the police.
Okay, what happened?
I'd gone to my school counselors and told them not to call my house because I was skipping school.
Your mother was helping you skip. Your mother was writing the letters. Why?
Yes. Well, I was involved with a girl my father didn't want me to be involved with.
Okay.
There's complete domination in families like Mark's, where the father basically not only controls, and typically it's boys who kill their fathers is the majority of the work that I do, sure, and that, and majority of cases in the country, and the father really controls everything in the family. And if you look, for instance, while there's a lot of concern for battered women who kill their husbands in the United States, if you compare battered kids who kill their parents, while there's understanding sometimes, and in Mark's case there was understanding by the court, often these kids end up in prison for long periods of time.
But I just want to know why the police didn't get involved here, Mark. What was the reason?
They gave me a choice. They told me they'd give me I could get a restraining order out on my father, or they could put me in another house. There was no way of getting out of the house, and there was no way of getting him out.
Yeah, but why didn't you opt for the restraining order? Or
he would have broke my head. You know, he would have severely beat me and my whole family.
So in other words, you felt the
system
system would not protect you.
Well, the system doesn't
protect
children very well.
But didn't your dad also know a lot of the police officers? Was that your fear?
Yes, he knew a lot of the police officers.
So were you afraid they just wouldn't enforce it because they...
Well, the Haverhill police didn't really like my father that much anyways.
And I'm wondering, too, if a lot of times the perception is, oh, this is a rebellious teenager who's just saying this. I mean, how horrible that is for the really, truly abused child.
Well, the local police had a good idea of what was going on, but there was nothing they could do. There really wasn't.
And one of the problems is that when, you know, as I was talking about battered women before, a battered woman runs away from home, leaves her husband, she can go in most places in the country to a safe shelter. where her husband doesn't know where she is and where she can be protected with her child. Somebody such as Mark, when they try to go someplace, first of all, they're arrested in most places in the country as live for running away from home. And secondly, when they leave home, their parents have to know where they are. So we don't really have safe havens for kids.
Right.
And I think we also don't realize that when a kid is abused, like as Mark talked about it, it becomes normal for them. And people say, well, why didn't you run away from home? Why doesn't he, where's he going to go?
Why didn't you, Mark?
You know?
Because this was a normal way, you thought?
I ran away with my brother one time, and we stayed out the entire night, and we came home because we were like, wow, what's he gonna do to Mom or our sisters? We had no idea, so we were afraid. So we came home. The doors were locked. We figured they would be, and that morning when he got up, my mother went to go see my brother Freddie, and he told my mother, he goes, you might not have two live sons when you come home.
Can you ever put your life back together again?
I don't know.
How,
I really don't.
How do you feel about you, Mark, right now? Do you feel like...
I really don't care about myself, to be truthful with you.
You don't?
Not at all.
One of the tragedies in the situations that Mark has is unfortunately many of these kids is that they also love the person that abuses them. That you just
I
by
loved my father very much.
Yeah, and that just because
I respected him totally.
And there's this push and pull, and the person that breathes life into you, you know, is also the person that ends up taking your life, because oftentimes, and it's difficult for Mark to talk about, I'm sure, but before you end up killing this person, you end up thinking about your own suicide as well,
and
because your life ends up becoming just not worth living, because
it's true.
These are the people who are supposed to protect you, and that all you understand is hate, is that the hate they treat you with becomes love, and your
But also it occurs to
becomes
me that you don't
twisted.
sound like you have any self-esteem.
No, I really don't think I do.
And
How about the rest of your brothers and sisters and mother?
I guess I really don't know, to be truthful with you. They seem to be doing well.
I only hope for you that you find your worth in spite of this. I'm sure it'll be a long struggle, but I hope that you will. Now, the courts were lenient. What did they do? What did they give you?
I received 6 months probation. I was tried as a juvenile. I was found guilty of delinquency and murder.
But 6 months probation.
Yes.
And his verdict is fairly unique. You find in many places where kids have been going away for a long time. I would say the self-esteem thing is probably one of the most important things to look, really in these cases, because abuse acts like a corrosive acid on the personality. And these kids basically, the verbal abuse, in fact, lasts a lot longer than the physical punches or the sexual molestation, because you're told basically through the things he really can't even say because of FCC regulations, but you know, you're not worth anything, I wish you were never born, your mother should have had an abortion, all these kinds of things that go towards wishing you weren't around on this earth. And I think what we need to come out of cases like Mark's is to understand that child abuse, little kids who are abused at 5 and 6 and 7 years old, the ones you sometimes read about in the newspapers who are scalded by their parents or cigarette burns, and we feel so sorry for them. We think they're going to get better. We think they're going to disappear into the fabric of society and become John and Mary Public, and everything's going to be fine.
No.
But
It's not the way it works, is it?
Not when you abuse a person like this, you not only you really hurt their souls more than anything else. And by abusing them, in fact, there's a psychiatrist who calls it soul murder, and that you then destroy them. And in cases like Mark's, the situation tragically ended up being better for him, but really for the family, but much worse for him. And they go to their deaths really living with this terrible guilt in them. And it's
Well,
a tragedy
again,
all
I
around.
say that, you know, hard work might make it a bit better for you. I certainly hope. Does it matter in this whole situation whether you're rich or you're poor?
No. Child abuse is class and race blind. The interesting thing about kids who kill their parents is they tend to be disproportionately white, middle class, and upper class kids. Kids who the system doesn't pay any attention to. I mean, the system focuses a lot on low-income kids, but kids who live in families where nobody wants to say anything.
Or where things look normal.
Look fine.
You know,
And
like
a lot of
Suzanne
these-
Summers says, the white picket fence, the little white house. house, but
right.
the terror going on inside.
Sure, and a lot of these people, in fact, the fathers, I have a case I write about Cindy, whose father was the head of a CEO of a major firm, and who in fact made his kids go collect for charities on the holidays. They had to give up half their Christmas presents to poor kids in the area, and yet he was, basically making her his sex slave in the evening. These parents lead double lives often, and that's one of the tragedies.
And in this day and age, as we talk about cutting social services, we better not cut all of what we do to assist our children in this country, or we're in big trouble.
And I think in our country, we sell very well to children. We sell sneakers, and we have clothes, etc. But we treat them in a very mean-spirited way with regard to protecting their souls and their lives.
Well, more on Mark's story and all the stories that Paul has brought to light in his book, and let's show it to you. It's called When a Child Kills: Abused Children Who Kill Their Parents. And I can only tell you, Mark, that we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
And I hope you can put your life back together. And Paul, thank you.